Chapter 5. The betrayal deepens. Mira stared at the text on her phone, her stomach twisting into knots. The words blurred as her pulse pounded in her ears. Stop digging, Mira. You won't like what you find. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her, even in the confines of her hotel room. Every creak of the floorboards or hum of the air conditioning made her jump. But fear wasn't enough to stop her now. If anything, it fueled her resolve. The next morning, Mira decided to follow the only lead she had, Charles Hawthorne's cryptic warning about Sophia's past. She didn't trust him completely, but his words had struck a nerve. Whatever you think you know about Sophia, it's just the surface. There's more, much more. She started by visiting the local archives, hoping to find any clues about Sophia's mysterious past. Hours passed as she combed through old records, scanning articles and public records for anything suspicious. And then, finally, something caught her eye. A newspaper clipping from 6 years ago reported the death of a man named Daniel Crestwood, a wealthy entrepreneur with ties to their town. The article was vague, mentioning only that his death had been ruled accidental, but Mira's instincts screamed otherwise. Daniel Crestwood's name was circled in red in Sophia's journal. Mira leaned back, her mind racing. Was this the man Charles had mentioned? The one Sophia had been involved with? And if so, why would Sophia be connected to his death? Her thoughts were interrupted by a text from Claire. We need to talk. Meet me at the park. Mira grabbed her things and headed out. The park was quiet when she arrived, the early evening shadows stretching across the ground. Claire was waiting for her by a bench, her expression tense. I found something, Claire said as Mira approached. She pulled out a folder and handed it to her. It's about Daniel Crestwood. Mira opened the folder, her eyes widening as she read. It wasn't just an accident. There had been rumors of foul play. Witnesses had reported seeing a woman arguing with Daniel the night he died, but no charges were ever filed. I did some digging, Claire continued, lowering her voice. Sophia was at the same gala as Daniel that night, and get this, her alibi was Elliot. Mira's hands trembled as she closed the folder. Elliot lied for her? Looks like it, Claire said grimly. I don't know if he was covering for her or if she roped him into it, but either way, it doesn't look good. Mira's chest tightened. She had always believed that Elliot was different, that he had been a victim of Sophia's manipulations just like she was. But this was something else. She thanked Claire and headed back to her hotel, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts. As much as she hated to admit it, she needed to confront Elliot. Later that night, Mira found herself standing outside Elliot's apartment. She hesitated for a moment before knocking. The door opened, and Elliot's expression shifted from surprise to something unreadable. Mira, what are you doing here? We need to talk, Mira said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Elliot sighed, running a hand through his hair. This is about Sophia, isn't it? Mira crossed her arms. You lied for her, didn't you, the night Daniel Crestwood died? Elliot froze, his eyes widening. Where did you hear that name? That doesn't matter, Mira snapped. I know you were her alibi. What I don't know is why. Did she kill him, Elliot? Did she make you cover for her? Elliot's shoulders slumped, and for a moment he looked like he might deny it. But then he sat down heavily on the couch, burying his face in his hands. She didn't kill him, he said finally. At least not directly. Mira's breath caught. What does that mean? Elliot looked up at her, his eyes filled with guilt. Daniel was threatening to expose something about her, something that could have ruined her. She begged me to help her. I thought I was protecting her. What was he threatening to expose? Mira demanded. Elliot hesitated, his jaw tightening. I don't know. She never told me, Mom. All I know is that after that night, she changed. She became colder, more calculating, and then you took the fall for her. Mira felt a wave of anger and despair crash over her. You knew she framed me, and you still stayed with her? I didn't have a choice, Elliot said, his voice rising. She had something on me too, Mira, something she could have used to destroy me. Mira stared at him, her heart breaking all over again. You were supposed to be better than this, she whispered. Before Elliot could respond, her phone buzzed with a text. She glanced at the screen, her blood running cold. You're getting too close. Back off or you'll regret it. The sender's name was blocked, but Mira had a sinking feeling she knew exactly who it was. Chapter 6. The Confrontation. Mira's hands trembled as she stared at the anonymous text. You're getting too close. Back off, or you'll regret it. The weight of the warning pressed heavily on her, but it wasn't enough to make her stop. If anything, it steeled her resolve. Sophia had spent years spinning her web of lies, and Mira was finally ready to tear it apart. The next morning, Mira returned to the Carter estate. She wasn't going to play the waiting game anymore. She needed answers, and she was going straight to the source. Sophia was lounging in the sunroom when Mira found her, a glass of iced tea in hand. She looked up, her expression a mixture of surprise and annoyance. Mira, Sophia said coolly, to what do I owe the pleasure? Mira stepped into the room, her gaze sharp. We need to talk, now. Sophia sighed dramatically, setting her glass down. Is this going to be another one of your accusations? Because if it is, I'd rather not waste my time. This isn't a conversation you can dismiss, Sophia, Mira said, her voice firm. I know about Daniel Crestwood. For the first time, Sophia's mask of indifference slipped. Her eyes flickered with something that looked like fear before she quickly recovered. I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, Mira snapped. I know you were involved with him, and I know he died under mysterious circumstances. Charles Hawthorne told me everything. Sophia's jaw tightened. Charles should have kept his mouth shut. Mira took a step closer. What happened that night, Sophia? What was Daniel threatening to expose? Sophia stood abruptly, her calm facade cracking. You think you're so clever, don't you? Digging through my past, talking to people who have no business meddling in my life, but you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. Then enlighten me, Mira challenged. For a moment, Sophia said nothing. Then she let out a bitter laugh, shaking her head. Fine. You want the truth? Daniel found out about something that could have ruined me and the family. He was blackmailing me, demanding money, threatening to go to the press. What was he blackmailing you about? Mira pressed. Sophia's gaze hardened. It doesn't matter. What matters is that I made it go away. By framing me, Mira's voice rose, you let me take the blame for your mess, Sophia. I lost everything. My reputation, my future. And for what? To protect your lies? Sophia stepped closer, her eyes blazing with anger. You think you were innocent in all of this? You were always the golden child, the one everyone adored. I was tired of living in your shadow, Mira, tired of being second best. Mira stared at her, stunned. You ruined my life because of jealousy? It was more than jealousy, Sophia shouted. I was desperate. I couldn't let everything I worked for fall apart because of one stupid mistake. The room fell into a tense silence, both sisters glaring at each other. Mira's heart ached with a mix of fury and sorrow. She had sacrificed everything for Sophia, and this was the truth she had been hiding all along. I'm not going to let you get away with this. Mira said finally, her voice steady. I'm going to expose you for what you've done. Sophia smirked, crossing her arms. Good luck with that. Do you really think anyone will believe you? After everything, you're still the outcast, the black sheep. No one will take your side. Mira's phone buzzed in her pocket, breaking the tension. She pulled it out, expecting another warning. But it wasn't a text. It was a voicemail. She hesitated before pressing play, and her blood ran cold as a familiar voice filled the room. Miss Carter, Charles Hawthorne's voice trembled. I need to speak with you immediately. I've uncovered something about Sophia. It's worse than I thought. Please, come to the estate tonight, and be careful. She's more dangerous than you realize. The message ended abruptly, leaving Mira and Sophia in stunned silence. Sophia's smirk faltered, her confidence wavering. What is he talking about? I guess we're both about to find out, Mira said coldly. As she turned to leave, Sophia grabbed her arm. Mira, don't do this. You don't know what you're dealing with. Mira shook her off, her resolve unshaken. I've dealt with enough of your lies. It's time for the truth. Later that night, Mira arrived at the Hawthorne estate. The air was heavy with unease as she approached the grand front door. It was unlocked, which sent a chill down her spine. She stepped inside, calling out for Charles. But the house was eerily silent. Following the dim light coming from the study, Mira entered the room and froze. Charles Hawthorne was slumped over his desk, a pool of blood spreading beneath him. On the desk was a single piece of paper, a hastily scrawled note that read, I couldn't live with the guilt. Forgive me. But something about the scene felt off. The angle of the gun, the lack of hesitation in the note, it didn't add up. And then she saw it, a smear of blood on the edge of the desk leading to the floor. Mira crouched down and found it, a small flash drive hidden beneath the desk. Her hands trembled as she pocketed the drive. This wasn't a suicide. It was a cover-up, and she knew exactly who was behind it. Chapter 7, The Final Revelation. Mira's breath hitched as she stared at the flash drive she'd found beneath Charles Hawthorne's desk. The bloodstains on her hands felt like ice, but the truth wouldn't wait. Charles hadn't killed himself. Someone had made it look that way, and Mira had no doubt it was connected to Sophia. She hurried back to her hotel, her pulse racing. Once inside, she locked the door and plugged the drive into her laptop. A single folder appeared, labeled, "For Mira." Her stomach churned as she opened it. Inside were several files, emails, photographs, and a document titled The Crestwood Incident. She clicked it and her world tilted. The document detailed the events leading up to Daniel Crestwood's death, and it confirmed Mira's worst fears. Sophia had been embezzling funds from Daniel's company, and when he threatened to expose her, she'd taken drastic action. But the twist came at the end of the document. The incident was covered up with the assistance of Elliot Carter, and Mira Carter was falsely implicated. The final payment to the enforcer, Amelia Grant, was made on Sophia Carter's behalf. Mira froze. Amelia Grant? The name sent a jolt through her. It wasn't just familiar, it was her mother's maiden name. Shaking, she scrolled through the emails on the drive. They revealed a deeper conspiracy. Sophia had manipulated everyone, yes, but she hadn't acted alone. Their parents had helped orchestrate the cover-up, using their influence and money to shield Sophia and make Mira the scapegoat. The betrayal was deeper than she'd imagined. Her family hadn't just abandoned her, they had destroyed her life to protect their golden child. Mira leaned back, her mind spinning. The pieces were finally falling into place. She understood now why Sophia had always been untouchable, why their parents had turned on her so easily. This wasn't just Sophia's doing, it was a family conspiracy. Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. Her heart leapt as she stood, hesitating. "Who is it?" "It's Claire," came the reply. Mira opened the door cautiously, letting Claire inside. "You're not going to believe this," Mira said, her voice shaking. She explained everything, the flash drive, the emails, the truth about Sophia and their parents. Claire's expression darkened. "I knew your family had secrets, but this is monstrous," Mira nodded. "I'm not going to let them get away with it. I'm going to expose everything." Before Claire could respond, Mira's phone buzzed. Another blocked number. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello? Mira?" It was Sophia's voice, cold and sharp. "I know you found the drive." Mira's grip tightened on the phone. "You killed Charles, didn't you? To stop him from helping me." Sophia laughed softly. "Charles was a liability. He should have stayed out of it." "You're going to pay for what you've done," Mira snapped. "I have everything I need to expose you." "Do you?" Sophia's tone turned venomous. "You think anyone will care? You're nothing but a disgraced pariah. No one will listen to you." Mira took a deep breath, her anger boiling over. "Maybe not, but the truth has a way of coming out, Sophia, and when it does, you'll have no one left to protect you." Sophia's laugh was cold and unfeeling. "Be careful, Mira. You're treading on dangerous ground. I'd hate for you to end up like Charles." The line went dead. The confrontation with Sophia pushed Mira to act quickly. With Claire's help, she compiled the evidence from the flash drive and prepared to go public. But first, she needed to confront her parents. Mira returned to the Carter estate under the cover of night. She slipped inside, making her way to her father's study. She found her parents there, deep in conversation. They looked up, startled, as she entered. "Mira," her mother said, her voice wary. "What are you doing here?" "I know everything," Mira said, her voice steady. "About Sophia, about Daniel Crestwood, about you." Her father's expression darkened. "You don't understand what you're talking about." "Oh, I understand perfectly," Mira shot back. "You sacrificed me to protect her. You let your golden child get away with murder while you threw me to the wolves." Her mother stood, her face pale. "Mira, we didn't have a choice. Daniel was going to ruin us. The scandal would have destroyed our family." "You destroyed it yourselves," Mira said, her voice breaking. "You chose her over me. You let me believe I was worthless. Do you have any idea what that did to me?" Her father sighed, running a hand through his hair. "We thought we were protecting the family. We didn't know it would go this far." Mira shook her head, tears streaming down her face. You knew exactly what you were doing, and now everyone else will know too. She turned to leave, but her father's voice stopped her. If you expose this, Mira, you'll bring the whole family down. Is that what you want? Mira hesitated, her heart aching. Then she looked back at them, her resolve unwavering. You brought this on yourselves. The following morning, the truth came out. Mira released the evidence online and to the press. The scandal rocked the Carter family to its core. Sophia was arrested for her involvement in Daniel Crestwood's death, and their parents faced intense public scrutiny for their role in the cover-up. As Mira watched the news unfold, she felt a strange mix of emotions: relief, sadness, and a sense of closure. Claire sat beside her, verse fade, offering a reassuring smile. You did it, Mira. You took your life back. Mira nodded, her gaze distant. But at what cost? As she turned off the TV, her phone buzzed with a new message. It was from a blocked number. This isn't over, Mira. You've only scratched the surface. Mira stared at the message on her phone, her pulse quickening. This isn't over. You've only scratched the surface. Her mind raced with possibilities. Who could it be? Sophia? One of their parents? Or someone else entirely? She reread the words, the ominous warning settling like a stone in her chest. Mira, Claire said softly, breaking the silence. What is it? Mira hesitated, then showed her the message. Claire's expression darkened as she read it. You think it's Sophia? Claire asked. Maybe, Mira replied, her voice low. Or maybe someone else tied to this mess. Whoever it is, they don't want me digging any deeper. Claire crossed her arms, her protective instincts kicking in. You're not alone in this, Mira. If they come after you, they'll have to go through me first. Mira managed a small smile, grateful for Claire's unwavering support. For the first time in years, she felt like she wasn't fighting this battle by herself. She stood crossing to the window. Outside, the city buzzed with life, oblivious to the storm that had engulfed the Carter family. Mira's reflection stared back at her, and for a moment, she barely recognized herself. She had changed. The naive, self-sacrificing girl who had once been willing to shoulder her family's burdens was gone. In her place stood a woman who had clawed her way back from the brink, who had fought for the truth no matter the cost. But as much as she wanted to believe it was over, the message was a stark reminder that her fight wasn't finished. Mira turned back to Claire. I'm not afraid anymore, she said, her voice steady. Whoever sent this, whatever secrets are still out there, I'm ready. Claire nodded, her expression resolute. We'll face it together. Mira's lips curved into a small, half-determined smile. For the first time in years, she felt a glimmer of hope, not just for justice, but for her future. As the night deepened, Mira closed her laptop and leaned back in her chair. The truth was out, and the world knew what her family had done. But in her heart, she knew this was only the beginning. There were still shadows lurking, secrets waiting to be uncovered, and Mira Carter wasn't done uncovering them. The Carter family's house of lies had fallen, but in its rubble lay fragments of a darker mystery, one that whispered promises of danger and revelation, and Mira was ready to face whatever came next. Secrets, lies, betrayal, and redemption. Mira's journey may have come to an end for now, but the shadows of her family's past still linger. What will happen next? Will Mira uncover even darker truths, or will the price of justice prove too high? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for joining me on this emotional and suspenseful journey. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more mysteries, dramatic twists, and unforgettable characters, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps support these stories, and I've got so much more coming your way. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next chapter or a brand new story. There's always another secret waiting to be uncovered.